You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke. Everything woke. It's true. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true. And by the way, we should not allow men to play in women's sports.
Say whatever you want about this guy, but trust me, Trump is one of the few top politicians who is not scared to speak against wokeism without holding back. So we went to find some of the most savage responses of him against the woke culture, and you won't believe what we found, starting with Trump's plan to protect children from left-wing gender insanity.
The left-wing gender insanity being pushed on our children is an act of child abuse. Very simple. Here's my plan to stop the chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this?
Trump is saying that he will end what he describes as left-wing policies related to gender issues, which he calls child abuse. He plans to revoke Joe Biden's policies on gender-affirming care, which he criticizes for involving puberty blockers, altering physical appearance, and even surgeries on minors.
I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children.
Trump said he intends to issue an executive order terminating all federal programs that assist sex and gender transformations at any age. He also wants Congress to permanently cut off federal funding for these treatments and implement legislation prohibiting them nationwide. To give you an idea of the scale, the number of kids using puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones in the U.S. more than doubled in just 4 years, from 2,394 in 2017 to 5,063 in 2021.
The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique.
According to Trump, the Department of Justice will investigate if huge pharmaceutical companies and hospital chains have been concealing the serious long-term negative effects of sex changes in order to make money off of susceptible people. The American Psychiatric Association estimates that gender dysphoria affects 1 in 1,000 persons. Trump promises to do better in resolving this matter under his direction. Another issue he is pretty vocal about is men playing women's sports.
And by the way, we should not allow men to play in women's sports.
Yup, we should not allow men to play in women's sports. Although it may seem like even a child might understand, we now need to explain this to grown-ups. Those who are woke are advocating for male-born athletes to participate in women's sports, as they clearly possess a physical and biological edge.
See, it just shows you what these political geniuses, they have all these consultants, all these great... Sir, don't say that, it's very controversial. That's not written down anywhere, I just said this might be a good time. So, they said don't do it. And that gets the biggest hand of everything. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. I tell the story of the great swimmer, great female swimmer, wonderful woman, beautiful woman. She's been swimming for many years. She wants to break the world record. And she's at the pool, and she wants to break it by 1/8 of a second. That's like fast. And she's going to do it. She's getting ready, and she looks down. She sees all people she's been competing with for years because they rise to the top. And she looks over here, and she sees people. But then she looks, and they call this. They say she's somebody with a man's body. That's what they do. They call it. I said, you think it's okay to say that? That's actually the expression they're using. They'll change that soon, so I have to do it quickly. I have to say it, because they're going to change it. And you know the guy. He was named Female Athlete of the Year. Did you know that? It's true.
Trump tells a tale about a world-class female swimmer who practices diligently to beat a world record by an extremely small margin. While getting ready, she spots a competitor who has a man's body and remarks on how ridiculous it is that this person is the recipient of the Female Athlete of the Year award.
He was just named female. We're not dealing with things that are so easy here, Newt. This is a difficult, crazy world. You'd almost say, is the world going crazy? Because 99% of the things I'm saying are common sense. But she looks over and sees her friends down there, and then she looks, and this guy is massive. He's got a wingspan. He's got arms that are 30 feet long. And I always say, and she was seriously injured during the meet because he swam so fast that he gave her major wind burn as he went by.
Trump makes fun of the absurdity of the world we live in by highlighting a scene in which a girl swimmer confronts a large man with a remarkable wingspan. He quips that she got windburned by his pace and that he broke the record by 38 seconds, while she was struggling to cut a fraction of a second. This demonstrates how ridiculous it is for guys to play women's sports. Trump claims that it is unfair and unjust for biological guys to participate in women's sports. He uses athletes like Leah Thomas, who was mediocre as a man but is currently shattering women's records, as an illustration of how this compromises sports justice. The problem is that there are other examples as well.
Or the weightlifter. I think it was like 218 pounds. I know, that's a lot. I can't lift it. I don't know who can. Any of our ex-Trump people, they're all Trump people. Kevin's saying he can lift it. I don't know about that, Kevin, but that's a lot. 218 pounds, and she got over that weight, and she was going to break it. They put a half an ounce here, half little tiny ring on top of these big barbells, dumbbells. And they go, and she went like this. Got it. Stood for 11 years. And her mother and father are screaming, "You got it! You got it, darling. I'm so proud of my girl." Well, she couldn't do it. And then this guy comes along. He's named Alice. And he looks at the weight. World record, world record. We could have put another couple of 100 pounds on. I think he would have lifted it.
Trump says it's unfair for biological men to compete in women's sports and uses a weightlifting example to make his point. He jokes about how heavy 218 pounds is, saying he can't lift it, and talks about a transgender athlete who easily lifts the weight and breaks the record. Well, this is, as Trump puts it, unfair and disrespectful to women, and how it's politically incorrect to speak out against it. The woman who lost the medal is afraid to speak up because she'll get canceled but Trump isn't. Before his presidency, Trump was vocal on gender issues. At a New Hampshire event, when challenged by a hardcore feminist on woke topics, Trump responded with sharp, blunt answers.
So maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're a friend to women.
I knew I shouldn't have picked her. I knew I shouldn't have picked her. All right, so let me give you that answer right now. I respect women incredibly.
I'll let the full clip play, but check this out. She's not even interested in his answer. She's just picking a fight. The moment Trump starts responding, she turns away and starts talking to someone else. Still, Trump manages the situation like a pro.
I have had women working for me in positions that they've never worked in terms of construction, in terms of so many different jobs. I had a woman who was in charge of the building of Trump Tower many years ago, before anybody would have even thought of it, and did a fantastic job. I have given women more opportunity than I would say virtually anybody in the construction industry. I have a daughter named Ivanka and a wife named Melania who constantly want me to talk about women's health issues because they know how I feel about it, and they know how I feel about women. I respect women. I love women. I cherish women. You know, Hillary Clinton said he shouldn't cherish. Well, I said I do cherish. I cherish women.
When it came to flipping claims, Trump responded vehemently. Instead of simply defending himself, he went on the offensive, emphasizing his record of helping women in male-dominated areas. For example, Barbara A. Rez, who was hired by Trump as vice president of construction at the age of 31, was instrumental in the construction of Trump Tower from 1980 to 1984. Despite this, the feminist persisted and brought up the wage gap topic.
I want to get paid the same as a man, and I think you understand that. So if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man, and do I get to choose what I do with my body?
Yeah, with her stance and the expression on her face, she believes she made a point, but she didn't. In a single sentence, Trump is ready to humiliate her.
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job. You're going to make the same if you do as good a job, and I happen to be pro-life. Okay? I'm pro-life.
In a few words, he invalidated the entire concept of a structural wage difference, reducing it to a straightforward response. What do you think? Do you stand Trump on this matter? Let me know in the comments. Also, like and subscribe for more stuff. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.